is. So he clearly already has a vision of the pardon power that is about, helping his friends. He had some regular people too, but it was overwhelmingly people who knew him or people on Fox News. So I don't think this changes what he does. I think I have seen that some people have said, well, does that mean the Democrats lose the high ground in terms of how they talk about it? There may be some truth to that, but I think partly it depends on what President Biden does in the remainder of his term. If he has a really robust clemency set of grants between now and when he's out of office, I think it would help the case to say, no, Hunter was the first of many people that I know have received unjust sentences.
That's NYU law professor Rachel Barko. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Political uncertainty has gripped the former Soviet Republic of Georgia. The Georgian government, after years of trying to join the European Union, has decided to suspend that effort. In response, protesters have hit the streets to show their fear that the small country could slide back under Russian influence, as it was during the Soviet Union. Well, to talk about all of this, NPR's Charles Maynes joins me from Moscow, fresh from his own reporting trip to Georgia. Hey, Charles.
Hi there.
Catch us up. Set the scene. As of Monday, where do things stand?
Well, for a fourth straight night, thousands protested outside the parliament in the capital Tbilisi, and for a fourth straight night, police responded with water cannons, tear gas, arrests, at least 200 so far. And as you noted, public anger here was set off by the ruling Georgian Dream Party's decision to suspend EU accession talks for 4 years.
Well, and why? I was doing my own reporting in Georgia not so long ago, and as I recall, almost everybody I talked to overwhelmingly wanted to join the EU.
Yeah, and they still do, according to polls. The government argues it's being blackmailed by the EU. This is really about Georgia's recent parliamentary elections. The Georgian Dream says it won the October vote outright with some 54% of the vote. The opposition and now the European Parliament say those results were rigged, and they're demanding a do-over. And this is not just any election. For many, it was seen as a referendum on whether Georgia's future lay with Europe or back with Russia, as it was in the Soviet days. Because even before this decision to suspend talks, the government already faced charges of undermining Georgia's EU prospects by embracing seemingly pro-Russian policies and anti-Western rhetoric.
Well, and as I mentioned, you have been out talking to people in Tbilisi recently. Take us there. I want everybody to listen to a little bit of your reporting.
Here we have a bureau. So we have a few mayor announcements that we'll jump into. All right, and I'll call up Olivia and Ellie up here as well. So we have some pretty extraordinary students in our community that have been getting into the holiday spirit and been focusing on back. So we're really excited to recognize the work that they've been doing. So we have a proclamation that we'll read here, and we have about 12,450 residents in Sheboygan County that depend on food assistance programs, with about 7,400 student-aged children qualifying for assistance due to limited access to sufficient nutrients and food, underscoring the urgent need for action and awareness. Whereas the future health professionals of the Future Club at Kohler High School, led by students including Ellie and Olivia, have demonstrated their commitment to ending childhood hunger and organizing a childhood hunger awareness initiative throughout Sheboygan County. And whereas this initiative includes food drives from November 25th to December 6th throughout Sheboygan County high schools to collect non-perishable food items, which will be donated to the Sheboygan Food Bank to support families and children in need during the holiday season. Whereas the future health professionals of the Futures Club initiatives.
A 19-year-old civil activist, also doesn't buy the election results. He points to his own home region of Guria, where he claims votes outnumbered residents.
But government give us new mathematics. 1 + 1 is 3.
If the opposition framed the election as a choice between Russia and Europe, Georgian Dream ran on a platform of war or peace. That argument was persuasive to many, says Corneli Kakaccia of the Georgian Institute for Politics.
Georgia is not member neither of NATO, neither member of European Union. So if tomorrow Russia invades Georgia, there is nobody actually who could protect Georgia. And that has quite huge impact at the end of the day.
Back at Parliament, lawmaker Levon Makashvili rejects the notion his party gamed the vote or has a hidden Russian agenda. He says Georgian Dream wants a European future, but one guided by Georgian security interests.
Our primary purpose of this country is to survive. And because of this, we have to make some very difficult decisions sometimes. And one of them is making some of the decisions that, some of our Western partners may not like.
Decisions that our Western partners do not like. Okay, reporting there from Charles Maynes in Tbilisi, Georgia. Charles is still with us, and I want to ask, where do things go from here? What are you watching for?
Well, all sides are digging in. Georgia's prime minister now says he won't allow a Western-backed revolution. Meanwhile, Georgia's pro-EU president has vowed not to leave her post until new elections are held and a, quote, legitimate parliament is formed. And all this comes to a head in mid-December when her term ends and the Georgian Dream-run parliament says it will nominate her replacement.
NPR's Charles Maynes. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're listening to All Things Considered from NPR News.
It's 6:18. You're listening to Wisconsin Public Radio. Good evening. I'm Brady Carlson. There's more All Things Considered still ahead, and at 6:30, it's Marketplace. For some clothing manufacturers, the rising costs of materials and labor have led to cuts in quality. We'll have that story and much more on Marketplace starting at 6:30. Mostly cloudy with a few more flurries possible in the state. Cold tonight with overnight lows in the teens.
Approve or appropriate any funds or demolish anything with the current Fountain Park. This is just a plan. This item gives a broader look of the investments that can be made in the downtown and one of our other park locations. The city will continue to look for grant funding and other funding opportunities to support any future plans for the future of Fountain Park. Also, as folks probably have seen, we have made updates to our winter parking rules and regulations. Long story short, we have shortened winter parking restrictions for winter parking, which will now go into effect December 1st, which was yesterday, until March 31st, which is a month shorter. So, and how that relates to alternate side parking will still be in effect from midnight to 6 a.m. during winter parking season, which allows for effective snow clearing when it does snow. So kind of the rule of thumb is still remember to park for tomorrow. So check out the city website for more information. Make sure you follow the City of Sheboygan Police Department and sign up for Nixle alerts as well, too. We just announced also today that the City of Sheboygan, in partnership with the Great Lakes Cities Initiative, that will be receiving grant funds to help implement and move forward with our lakeshore erosion plan. Fund, and this will help us advance the design and planning stages of essential planning projects amid combating coastal flooding, erosion, and environmentation as well. So we just put that moving forward. Also, just want to give a recognition to our wonderful information technology staff over the last few days. The folks know that we've been navigating through some network troubles and issues, and our IT team has done an extraordinary working many hours over the weekend to make sure that we can get our system still serving our constituents throughout the city. But we appreciate everyone's understanding on this, and I want to thank Matt and his team, James and JC, for really stepping up and providing the great resources to get our networks up and running again. So with that, thank you, IT. And with that, our Muni code is up and running again. So we'll jump into the first items on the consent agenda. Alder Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to receive and file all ROs, receive all RCs, and adopt all resolutions and ordinances.
Second. Moved and seconded. Any discussion On the consent agenda, Alder Decker.
Yes, I would like to pull item 14 and vote separately.
All right. Is there a second? Second. Okay, moved and second. Alder Decker, you want to speak on this?
Yes, Mr. Ranieri spoke about this. I've looked at this a little more, and I do not feel comfortable granting this license with you. The fact that this is basically going to be a gambling establishment. I mean, when you have a restaurant that has less tables than it doesn't have a regular bar. This is kind of just like a way getting around the law, and I just don't feel comfortable. I think we're going to be opening up a can of worms. We're going to have more of these establishments trying to do the same thing, and if we do this once, we're going to have to do it again. And I just don't feel comfortable doing with this one. So I make a motion to file this one.
All right. There's been a motion to file. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion on filing? All right. State aye.
Aye.
Any objections? All right, with that, that is filed. Now back to the consent agenda. Alder Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to draw attention to item. I think I've mentioned it every time, but we'll like to continue to put a plug in for everybody. Feedback from now former staff about their opinion on working for the city, and I think it gives us a lot of insights on what areas we might be able to look at opportunities for improvement to make this an even better place to be for our employees. Thank you.
Alder Heidemann.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I too want to talk about item 11. That I thought that report was very informational. I called Kellyanne and I said, thank you. I thought it was a great job. One of the things that I was concerned with the number of people that left, where these people left. Did they leave from the fire department? Did they leave from the police department? Did they leave from DPW? Added to that report, but other than that, I thought it was very informational. And thank you very much for your hard work.
Thank you, Alder Heidemann. Alder Bellinger.
Thank you. I would like to speak to item 13, the Marine. The city administrator, just kind of give a little informative history on why their advance was initially needed. I know there's some language in the resolution then to figure out a way to future how we're going to address the advance. Some feedback for the public on that issue as well, seeing as how the marina has become a hot topic.
City Administrator?
Yep, and Caitlin, correct me if I'm wrong, but this essentially goes back to when the marina was created back in the 90s. So you're carrying the debt as a general fund debt with basically no return since it started operating. So in working with our auditors, they asked that because this is clearly a long-term we worked with them on if we transfer it over to the capital fund, because the marina is funded through the capital fund for the capital improvements, and that's ultimately what the money was for. We'll transfer it over there and carry it as a capital fund debt, as a general fund debt, because the returns from the marina ultimately, when that happens, that would be what pays that fund back. So this is just transferring that existing debt that's been on our books since late 90s. Do you have anything else to add?
Sure. It is a cumulative amount that has been transferred over time. A lot of it was the initial debt that was put through in order to open the marina, but then there have been cumulative losses nearly every year at the marina that had to be paid for by some version of cash. It was previously done by the debt service fund, and our auditors told us were non-compliant. We came back last minute to transfer it out of debt service fund to become compliant and have our auditors at least check that box off of our list of to-do items. But when we look at how much is out there, the capital fund currently hold it, and it will allow us to not have that negative rating on our it's not getting paid back in a timely fashion to the general fund. So it's kind of helping us with both the credit rating and compliance. I will say that when we went and looked through the budget for 2024 on the marina, we had looked at every aspect of operations and came up with a budget. But it was also going to pay back about $20,000 of this debt, which is, of course, not even a drop in the bucket at this point. But that was the initial intent. Of course, we had issues at the marina this past year that caused us to now go over budget again because of ice damage and things like that. But we did have a plan to rectify that situation in this year's budget. It did not go as planned, but we're looking at each budget moving forward to see how much of that funds can get paid back moving forward.
Thank you.
Follow-up?
No, that's good. Thank you. I appreciate the information.
All right, seeing no more cues, the consent agenda for the remaining items will be a roll call vote.
Nine ayes.
All right, those items are approved. Next, we have reports of officers. Item 17, RO number 882425 by the City Plan Commission, to whom was referred resolution number 1152425 by Alderpersons Mitchell and Perella, adopting public participation procedures regarding the City of Sheboygan Comprehensive Plan. Alder Mitchell?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to receive the RO and adopt the resolution.
Second.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. Any discussion on this item? Alder Mitchell.
Thank you. Just one quick question on this one. The section on the item number 3 in that list reads the name of an individual employed with the City of Sheboygan who may provide additional information regarding the proposed ordinance. Is the comprehensive plan ultimately passed as an ordinance?
City Attorney, do you know that question?
Can you repeat the question? If is it ultimately adopted as a...
The question more succinctly, is the comprehensive plan at the end passed as an ordinance? I know it mentions...
It is not typically passed as an ordinance. It's passed as a resolution.
Okay. Thank you. That was the clarification I was looking for.
All right. Thank you. All right.
Did we have such a plan before, or is this an amendment, or this is just brand new as a plan?
City Administrator?
Yes, we've had one in place early 2000s, I believe. We're a few years overdue. We're supposed to redo them every 10 years. So this is just an update to our prior plan. And then essentially the Plan Commission adopts the plan and makes a recommendation to City Council, and then City Council can either adopt or reject that plan.
Very good, thank you. I just wanted to add a comment that, I applaud the effort. These are all tools that are very useful for the community engagement, which is crucial. At the same time, I can see there is at the very end about the additional steps for public participation, and I want just to add, as someone who has often all these tools that have been listed here attract always people that are already interested in community engagement. So I invite the city staff to look for ways that are a little bit out of the box of this method. Communities that not naturally participate in the tools as we listed. And I know the staff does a good job, but studies and research show that these tools are limited and that attract always the same communities. So it's an invitation to look for always different ways in addition to those listed here in the plan.
Thank you for those comments. Seeing no more cues, this will be a
Nine ayes.
That's approved. Items 18 through 23 will be referred to their committees. 120-24-25 by Alders Mitchell and Perella, authorizing retaining outside legal counsel to represent the city in the matter of SCFRC funding for LLC versus City of Sheboygan. Alder Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to suspend the rules.
Any objections? Seeing none, please proceed with your motion.
I move to adopt the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. Alder Bellinger.
Can I get an explanation as to why we're suspending the rules? I believe this was on the last agenda too that we didn't have, so I suspect that timing is of the essence, but.
The city attorney?
You're right. Timing is of the essence, done, and that's why it's being suspended.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other discussion on this item? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Nine ayes.
That is approved. Next item, 25, RC number 121-24-25 by Alderpersons Mitchell and Perella, authorizing retaining outside legal counsel to represent the city in the matter of Walmart Real Estate Business Trust for City of Sheboygan. Alder Mitchell.
I move to suspend the rules.
Any objections? Seeing none, Alder Mitchell, please proceed with your motion.
I move to adopt the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Alder Perella.
That was for the previous item.
Okay. Alder Bellinger.
Again, could I just get an explanation as to why we're suspending the rules for the public?
City attorney.
Same timings of the essence. These were filed within days of each other.
Thank you.
Alder Decker.
Yes, I just have a quick question on this. I know this is in the past. We've had these issues with Walmart and with other businesses, big box stores. I thought that this was somewhat settled in the state so that these would not be happening anymore. Is there any explanation at all for that?
Yeah, so the law is much more in favor of the city. That doesn't necessarily prevent Walmart from filing the lawsuits. We are, as you can see from the resolution, we're actually still currently engaged on 4 previous years as well, and our counsel is working basically to make these cases go away. But given the change in the law, we're standing much more firm than we would have prior to the change in the law.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, seeing no more discussion, this will be a roll call vote.
Alder Lefebvre.
Sorry.
9 ayes.
That's approved. Next, resolution number 123-24-25 by Alderpersons Decker and Rust, authorizing police to take necessary actions to receive the 2025 Wisconsin Justice System Improvement Beat Patrol Grant. Alder Decker.
I ask to suspend the rules.
Any objections? Seeing none, please proceed with your motion.
I move to adopt the resolution.
Second. Moved and seconded. Alder Bellinger.
Again, I'd just like to know for the public's input why we are suspending the rules on this item as well.
Police Chief.
It's timeliness so that we can accept the funds and return the paperwork to the state in time to get them.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Alder Perella. Nine ayes.
All right, that's approved. Items 27 through 35 will be referred to their respective committees. 24-25 by the Finance and Personnel Committee, to whom was referred direct referral resolution number 116-24-25 by Alders Mitchell and Perella, authorizing entering into a tax increment district development agreement with Jacob Hall Apartments. Alder Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to receive the RC and adopt the resolution.
Second.
None. This is a roll call vote.
Nine ayes.
That's approved. Item 37, RC number 161-2425 by the Finance and Personnel Committee, to whom was referred direct referral resolution number 117 and Perella, authorizing entering into a tax increment district development agreement with Riverview District LLC for the development of the former Mayline site. Alder Mitchell.
Move to receive the RC and adopt the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded. This one. Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Nine ayes.
That's approved. Item 38, RC number 16224 by the Finance and Personnel Committee, to whom was referred direct referral resolution number 1 Mitchell and Perella, authorizing entering into a First Amendment lease agreement with Share Inc. regarding property 930 North 8th Street. Alder Mitchell.
I move to receive the RC and adopt the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion on this. Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Nine ayes.
That's approved. Next item 39, RC number 168-2425 by the Public Works Committee, to whom was referred RO number 8224 and resolution number 12425 by Alders Decker and Ramey, approving the Fountain Park conceptual plan. Alder Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to file the RO and adopt the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion on this item. Alder Heidemann.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I had a constituent contact me, and she had watched the Public Works meeting, and one of her concerns was there was never any reference to on the green space as far as the city is concerned with this development. Are we losing green space? Are we gaining green space? It was never discussed. Okay, well, we're going to adopt this. Well, I made a call to the people that designed it. They seemed to think that it was kind of like a wash as far as green space was concerned. But again, I had a constituent that was concerned about the developments of our parks and where we're going and whether or not we're eliminating green space or we're not. The other thing that I wanted to mention is, we're going to adopt this. I looked at some of the stuff I like, some of the stuff I don't like. I'm not going to support it because I think the cost is way too. But when we get these plans, why aren't, like say the band shell or the ice pad or whatever, why isn't there a cost affixed to these things? Why, so that committee could say, hey, listen, we're not going to spend $1 million to put that in, but yet we're adopting a plan that we're going to look at later on, but yet we have absolutely no idea or the food trucks are going to be on. Does that cost us $500,000? Why aren't these plans broken down so that we have some information as to what the actual costs are when we're developing these projects?
Who wants to, Joe or Travis? Joe?
Thank you. I think that's a great question. So this is basically just the concept. It's really the beginning. We still have schematic design. Would answer a lot more questions that you're asking. It's going to get more detailed, the spatial and really develop it more. Even from there, it goes into design development, and then it goes into construction documents. So right now, even the what it's going to cost to do what that concept is, it's a shot in the dark of what that amount is, because we're only at the concept, and anywhere along the line things can change, and we then do find out more. What is the cost of the synthetic ice? What is the cost of the shelter? What is the cost of the other items there through the process?
Well, yeah, again, why isn't this, these people come up with these plans, they say, and then, of course, at the meeting, the only did we ever discuss how much the thing was going to cost. And all of a sudden it was $4 million. Well, again, there's no breakdown. I mean, I'm making a vote on a plan that I want to see go forward, but yet I have known that if I had the opportunity right now to say, well, I want to eliminate that portion of that plan, and then I'll be in favor of it, the council can vote on it. That way, when we go back to the company for the plan, they would alleviate that. So then wouldn't we be better off looking at that as opposed to adopting a plan just because we can adopt a plan? I don't understand that.
Yeah, and I really think that's the next step. I mean, when we worked with Architecture, they actually were hoping that we'd do the concept and the schematic at the same time. At the time that part of the plan.
Okay. Thank you, Joe.
All right, we got a few cues in here, so we'll do Bellinger, Mitchell, Perella, and Alder Bellinger.
I share some of the concerns that Alderman Heidemann and Dolce mentioned earlier. We've got the Marina project, and the figure was $77 million. Then all of a sudden, this project is like, and then we've got the issue with the parklet. What are we going to do with the parklet? My problem with these projects is not, voting in favor of them and getting them past the conceptual stage where we can actually see what each one of these items is going to cost us. It's just that I think we need to have more of a collaborative approach with these parks in what we're doing, because right now we've got the marina sitting by itself, then we've got Fountain Park sitting by itself, and then we've got this parklet park sitting by itself, and there's issues going on with all three of them, and there's nothing. Two of the projects have ice ribbons in them. Obviously, we're not going to have two ice ribbons, but I mean, it's things like that I think there needs to be more synergy between all of these plans as to what's going on, and of prioritization so that we can, as aldermen, move forward in a kind of more of a unified approach versus having these one-offs, and we're voting on all these one-off things that are at different steps in their process. I just think it needs to be more collaborative and as seen as a whole, and how we're addressing these, because they are significant costs associated with them. I'm going to vote in favor because, again, it's a conceptual thing. There's no dollars being spent, as far as the infrastructure, and that goes right now just to see. But again, for the future, I would like to see a more collaborative approach.
Thank you, sir. Alder Mitchell.
Thank you. Yes. Alder Bellinger's comments. These conceptual plans, I understand that when we're passing one of these and when they're being designed, it's not exactly a guarantee that exactly what we see in the plan is what is going to ultimately be constructed. Maybe it's just my not quite being able to embrace the concept of the conceptual plan, but in it, I would not be in favor of seeing moving forward, even if I am in favor of the project to look at Fountain Park and revitalize that area, which I am. Just as a couple examples, the bump out toward A Street and that alley on the east side that was mentioned at Public Works, I would have questions about pedestrian safety if we're encouraging that crossing in the discussed. Looking at the overall picture, it looks like a lot of concrete or other hard surfaces and buildings or other types of infrastructure, and very little grass or open space for a park. So there's just items in there that I'm not necessarily sure I would be able to get behind. I don't know if the solution there is coming up with options when we're at the conceptual phase so that we're not putting every idea we have into one plan, or maybe paring back a little bit of what we put into it with other ideas that were discussed attached as possibilities to explore. But at this time, with the form of the plan, I will be voting against it. But as I stated, I am in favor of us taking a look at Fountain Park and doing some work there. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Mitchell. Alder Perla.
Thank you. It's not very clear to me what is that we are voting it for. And maybe not completely the idea of the conceptual plan, but this is in itself what we have in our documents that we can look at. It is a conceptual plan already. So what is it that what are we voting tonight in addition to this plan here that we know is going to be transformed, modified, adjusted, and so on, right? So what is it we are voting on today?
Okay, we're looking at something that we like, and then we were hoping to move right into the schematic design and the design development and to the construction documents. That's a much bigger step. That's like 3 steps. But we wanted to at least start with the concept. We wanted that approval that we were on the right track and that we could keep moving forward.
So if there are, for example, if the majority of us would not like some of the elements of this plan, when will we be able to remove those elements? Also with the money, with the funds, be able to do it.
I guess I'll take some help too, but in my mind, that would towards the second and third phase of this schematic design of it, when we get really kind of, yes, this is where a new shelter is going to go. This one's coming down, and this is the fountain that we want. It gets a lot more.
I have a little problem with the fact that, so we are going to say today, I want to approve this project. I want to support the revitalization of the Fountain Park. To me, it is outdated. I think it could be used much more, especially considering that it is right downtown. I love that idea. I want to support that. However, I have a problem with the fact that we are going to tell the architects to work on all these elements, so to spend time, their time that we will pay for, on elements that perhaps none of us will accept anyway. There's a little bit of discrepancy between, it's almost like a phase, there is a gap in the phasing somewhat. However, I want to have the certainty that there will be a step before we get to the schematics in which we can eliminate already pieces of this, because it will not be all, the concept will not all be approved for sure. So agreement with all the elements that have been presented already.
City Administrator, you want to take in?
So the concept plan is essentially the public input is what created this plan. I think they worked, I'm not sure how many groups they met with that were users of the park, have existing festivals and various activities that held multiple community input sessions. I think they did some surveys to get all that feedback, and that's ultimately what you have here. So this is a conceptual plan, and then the next step in that process, if you want to move forward, would be starting the schematic phase. We would go through and approve like an RFP for design of these things, and at that point that's where they start putting more refined cost until you get into design development. That's where you really refine things down. You get, your budgets will be very close. These are just very approximate costs. Start looking at, if you really don't like that, we wouldn't put that in there. And then when we get to like the construction document phase, that's essentially building the bid package that will go out for the public for construction costs. And at that point, we'd have grants lined up. And if we didn't have grants, then we wouldn't move forward with those project costs. So there'll be 2 to 3 different points in here that you would have the opportunity to say, no, we really don't like that, have that debate, and decide whether something goes forward or not. But in the absence of that, this how the community wants to use the park area, and this is that input that they received over 3-4 months.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep. So over the course of the summer. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Thank you both.
Travis. All right, Travis. A lot of lights over here.
Yeah, I would just like to add on to City Administrator's comments. This conceptual plan is based upon not only the community, the public forums that we had on Fountain Park, but at each one of those, there was many options for each item. So it wasn't that they just said, well, this is what's going to go here. There was like several designs of the shelter, several designs of the idea of where the fountain could be. So the public all voted on that. They voted on the style of the park. This is a rounded style. There was other variations as well. This is all from the general public that attended these meetings, and this is what got the highest votes. And then they to accommodate that.
Thank you. Alder Rust.
Thank you. I would, based on what I've heard this evening, I would like to make a motion to move it back to committee.
Second. All right, there's been a motion and second to refer this back to the Public Works Committee.
And can I say one thing too?
Yeah, Alder Rust.
So I would also like to say that if you do not like the plan or you want to have input on the plan, I would recommend you coming to the Public Works meeting this, not this Tuesday, but next Tuesday, and your voice can be heard during that meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. And the second was Alder Heidemann?
Yes.
All right. Discussion on sending this back to committee. Alder, did you want to talk about that? Alder Decker?
Not really in favor of this because of the fact that we have actually had quite a bit of public discussion, and we actually had there's been a lot of public discussion. We had the architecture did an awesome job, I thought. They had a great public session down at Kiwanis Park where they went through the actually got to put their input into it. There was a Marina Parks and Forestry meeting where we had some public input also on it, as far as the discussion, as far as the grass and stuff like that, the amount of green space that's on there. That it was brought up at Public Works. I'm almost sure that it was. I thought somebody did actually ask that question. So, but yes, I'm in full support of this concept. I think it's really it really is a lot of good public input. It really did have a lot, but I think sending it back would just muddy things up.
Okay. Seeing no more cues, all those in favor of sending this back to committee, state aye. Any objections? All right, we're going to call the roll on that one. So yes is to send it back to committee, no is not to send it back to committee.
Alder Bellinger.
Yes, so what yes is sending it back to committee, no is not sending it back to committee.
No.
Alder Decker.
No.
Alder Heidemann.
Aye.
Alder LaFave.
Aye.
Alder Mitchell.
Aye.
Alder Peterson.
No.
Alder Perella.
Nay.
Alder Ramey.
No.
Alder Rust. 4 ayes, 5 noes.
All right, so that is not going back to committee. So that is here today still. All right, seeing no more discussion, I have a couple questions. So my frustration has been laid out by several of the alders on this as well. I want to reiterate Alderman Heideman's point of not laying out costs with certain items as well. And I have a lot of issues, and I communicated my frustration at the front of this project regarding removal of the band shell and not taking a further look at renovating that. I've gotten a lot of negative feedback on the concept regarding the band shell from the Pops band members, as well as folks from the Community Music Wall of Fame as well. And I think that there's been a lot of investment from the city, Public Works, and community organizations regarding that. So I guess walk me through the concept and the thought of removing the band shell in this project and what you're going to do with the Music Wall of Fame.
Okay, so both those groups were part of the stakeholders meetings, and
so I just want to interject. So I've gotten feedback that they weren't able to attend. So did that just contradictory feedback that I've gotten?
The Pops concert, and both of them were invited, and
both of them said they weren't.
They were invited.
Just letting you know what I'm.
They were definitely invited. I know they were both invited. I even talked to she knew that she was invited, and so they were invited. They were even the Pops were part of the discussion, and we have Fountain Park band shell, and much of the discussion was we have two band shells in a very close proximity, and neither one is being marketed and used to any great extent. The Pops concert are down to 3 in a summer, and we have it's basically used very minimally. And yes, the Music Hall of Fame, that's been part of the discussion from day one. That somehow, yes, we will incorporate that to still have that as part of the area. We is more multi-purpose. It can be used as a shelter. It can be used as a band shell. It's the other part of it is that it sits the band shell right now, and it's in need of work. I got to tell you, I still love the band shell part of it, the outside for the performance aspect, but it is a big block in the corner of Ontario and on 9th Street, and we'd really like to open the whole park up. And if you look how it's designed, it's just, you can see through the park all the way through, and it's in my eyes, a beautiful design, and very much a lot of work went into incorporating the farmers market. But the band shells needs a lot of work. The fountain needs to be completely redone. So it's time for to be done. So that was the part that's okay. Now let's look at the whole park if these things need to be done, and let's really make it a place where, a gathering space.
All right, thank you. Any other discussion on this item? Seeing no more cues, this is a roll call vote.
Six ayes, 3 noes.
All right, that is approved. Item 40, RC number 172-2425 by the Public Works Committee, to whom Item 2425 by Alders Decker and Rust, amending sections 52-397, 54-398, and 54-399 of the Sheboygan Municipal Code relating to sewers and sewage disposal as to make changes to sewer to service charges. Alder Decker. Okay, Jordan.
Good evening. This is a very complicated subject to try to summarize. In the memo that I prepared, I did point out that if you look at an average resident within the city of Sheboygan, it works out to be about an 8% increase. Mm-hmm. That's one reason that I provided that table, just showing tool outlines, and to also show that over the past several years, it's been a much more gradual amount of increase rates relatively low for those 5 years.
Okay, and I appreciate it, and I'm not questioning because there's a need, because a lot of times we're behind and we're just trying to catch up. But so we're coming up with an 8% this year. Now, we're not going to.
Obviously, it's too soon to say. One indication is that we actually could see more increases in the future. As I mentioned in that memo, quite a bit of an increase might be growth on the south side of the city. The South Side Interceptor and the Gartman Farm area, that's a very expensive project that the good news is that those areas will also start producing revenue that hopefully will be offsetting that. So I'd be lying if I was telling you that we could say that we're not going to be increasing rates, but we do really hope to see those rates stabilize as that revenue starts to come in.
And thank you for that information, because again, with the additional home, have we ever seen it where we went backwards on the rates?
No, there have been some individual cases where some of the parameters that we charge surcharge fees for, and again, this is things like if industry has a lot of phosphorus, for example, we charge them extra for the amount. If the amount that it costs us for 1 year to treat for specifically phosphorus goes down, we have decreased that amount in the past. It's pretty rare. Usually rates are kept the same or increased as needed, but we have done it a few times.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Alder Perla.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, maybe it was included, but
It's been about, and again, the different parameters to different outcomes with that question, but the main rates that we looked at have not increased since 2022. So it's been 3 or 4 years.
And what was the
increased? Just roughly looking about 5%, and by that I'm looking amount on somebody's bill. Our bills to our residents include a fixed fee, which basically we need to see that revenue whether somebody's using a lot of water or not. And then the volume charge is usually the larger portion of that bill. And again, that has not increased since 2022.
To $57. That is
That's the fixed fee.
That's the fixed fee, right. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, seeing no more discussion, this is a roll call vote.
Nine ayes.
Oh, sorry.
9 ayes.
Thank you, that's approved. Item 41, RC number 173-2425 by the Public Works Committee, to whom was referred a direct referral resolution number 122-2425 by Alders Decker and Ramey, authorizing the appropriate city officials to enter into a contract for the provision of installation of submersible pumps in the control panel and associated equipment at the 6th Street and Pershing Avenue water pump station, and authorizing a budget amendment. Alder Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to receive the RC and adopt the substitute resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing no, Alder Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to ask what the reason behind the amendment to the original copy of this resolution was.
Who wants that? Jordan?
Sorry.
That's a good question, and unfortunately, it's just a technicality. Essentially, when we put together the original documents for the City Council from 2 weeks ago, we missed the fact that there was some language remaining in the original resolution that was tied to a completely unrelated project. Attachments in tonight's packet, you'll see that the first 2 pages are the updated resolution, which essentially just shows the revenue and the expense for the $68,000 that we're asking for, whereas the following 2 pages include that former, which includes things like CBDG and other things that are completely unrelated to this. We didn't catch with the original resolution.
Thank you. All right, seeing no more cues, this is a roll call vote.
Nine ayes.
That's approved. Item 40, RC number 174-2425 by Public Works, to whom was referred direct referral resolution 119-2425 by Alderpersons Decker and Ramey, authorizing execution of release of easement rights on behalf of the city with respect to the portion vacated South Street located on the Berkshire Apartments development parcel. Alder Decker.
I move to receive the RC and adopt the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Nine ayes.
That is approved. Items 43 and 44 will do their committee. Item 48 will. And we've exhausted the agenda. Alder Decker.
I move to adjourn.
It's been moved and seconded. Just for the record, item 45 will be referred to committee as well. All those in favor of adjournment, state aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned at 7:08.